Although we have heard at least 5 people have died. The injured placed well over 1,000, 1,500. The mayor expecting that number to rise. One hospital alone that's gotten a lot of credit here, St. Vincent, which is a big trauma center, 600 people in all New York hospitals, 150 critical at this point.
We also have to tell you that a lot of people have been unaccounted for. Officials believe that probably about 10,000 people were inside that Twin Tower this morning at the time of the attack. You know it holds anywhere from 40 to 50,000, but we're told approximately 10,000 people were inside. And of course there were hundreds of people on the ground, including police and firefighters. There's more to the story, of course. This has developed into Washington today.
And before we get to that, let's check with Cindy Hsu in the newsroom with some late information. Cindy.
Okay, Dana and Ernie, we are getting some incredible pictures in right now. Somebody was on the ground, just happened to be taking still shots of the first plane. That was the American Flight 11 that went into the first World Trade Center tower. There you see, it's just, over the Manhattan skyline, nothing happening. The second shot, it has already gone in. And this is American Flight 11 from Boston to LA. 92 people were aboard, 81 passengers, 9 flight attendants, and 2 pilots. And as you see there, they also caught the explosion. About an hour later at 10:05, that first tower did collapse. These are the first pictures we're getting in of the first plane, again, American Flight 11, that hit the World Trade Center Tower 1 shortly before 9 o'clock. Dana and Ernie?
Thank you very, very much. Let's continue. We were talking about Washington, too, because this tragedy has hit more than New York. In Washington this morning, while we were dealing with this on our TV screens, there was another attack, a plane, United Airlines jet striking the heart of a U.S. military complex. Also there, loss of life, no numbers exactly. Then a second plane that was either targeting the Pentagon or Camp David. Late word, it was targeting Camp David, presidential retreat in Maryland. That plane forced down by U.S. fighter planes.
And, of course, there was another plane that was said to be hijacked that crashed near the Pittsburgh area, and that happened at around 10 a.m. We're told that about 266 people possibly have been killed in those 4 separate airline crashes. That's 266 passengers and crew members aboard those 4 flights.
And there are pictures that we have, and we'll bring those to you as well in the area that's 80 miles away from Pittsburgh, Somerset County, Pennsylvania, and just a blighted area now where you can see there's burned up. And these were all big planes, too, with a lot of fuel on board.
And you see the shot over and over again. Here in New York, it's a huge cloud of dust, some smoke that still blankets the lower Manhattan area. You know, airports are closed, top security is in effect at all bridges, tunnels, landmarks, and other locations. And also, 2 U.S. warships are heading into the New York Harbor for security. So we have police, fire, the National Guard, hospitals, all working feverishly to deal with the victims and the injured. Blood is needed. Doctors, nurses have all been called in, and all emergency services in New York are working to full capacity, stretched to the limits, to say the least.
Now, the President Bush, who was in Florida this morning when this happened, then moved to Louisiana, now has moved to a secure place out west, Strategic Air Command, under tight security. He quickly vowing to find those responsibles, he said, to hunt them down, and he assures the American people that security measures were in place, are in place, and that it is our resolve in this country, as every leader, the president, the governor, and the mayor have said, we will pass this so-called test, and we will not be shaken. Yes, we will be saddened, deeply saddened by this, but America will stand tall through this.
And let's get right to what's going on right now at St. Vincent's Hospital, for example. Whitney Casey is standing by to tell us about the injured and the work that's being done there. Whitney.
Well, that's right. You heard Mayor Giuliani talk about the work that's been done here. He said when he flew down the street earlier this morning, he felt very comforted by the fact that there were EMS, emergency workers, and doctors, like you see behind me, waiting out in front. Now, it's been an ebb and flow here all day. Right now, it's a short respite, but in probably just about a half an hour, we'll see ambulance pulling up here and all of these surgeons and emergency workers attending to those people. Now, the number we have here right now is 267 that are here at St. Vincent, 30 in critical condition, 3 have now died, and they're telling us also that there are about 30 firefighters, police officers, and EMT workers that are being treated here right now. So those numbers, again, 267, 3 dead. Reporting live from St. Vincent's, Whitney Casey, CBS 2.
Thank you, Whitney. What an effort underway in this city. And, of course, this will continue all afternoon, all evening. This work is far from over, and as the story develops, we certainly want to share whatever information we have with you.
There has been also, as you can imagine, an outpouring of spiritual support. Edward Cardinal Egan, the head of New York's Roman Catholics, spoke that we should all be prayerful. He was especially supportive in offering prayer for the doctors, nurses, police officers, firefighters, rescue workers who are working so hard on this day, and that those who pray should pray for them. In Washington, D.C., there was a mass today at the National Cathedral, 3,000 to 4,000 people there. And just checking around the suburbs, I know that churches are open this afternoon, and synagogues, places of worship, if that's something you want to do, that the doors of many places are open for you to offer your spiritual thoughts. And those words, of course, echoed by President Bush earlier today when he asked everyone to pray for all of those people who are working so hard right now to help those who really need the help. Cindy Hsu is standing by right now with an update of information for us. Cindy, let's go to you in the newsroom.
Well, Ernie, within the hour, we heard from White House advisor Karen Hughes. She addressed the nation, and she said that the federal government is running as best it can under the circumstances. Here's more of what she said.
The federal government is acting to help local communities with search and rescue and emergency management operations, to take all appropriate precautions to protect our citizens, and to identify those responsible for these despicable attacks on the American people. While some federal buildings have been evacuated for security reasons and to protect our workers, your federal government continues to function effectively.
We were just listening to Karen Hughes. I just wanted to tell you a little bit more of what she said. She said that the terrorist attack has forced President Bush into hiding as a precaution since the White House was under threat of attack. That his whereabouts have been kept secret for much of the day, but now that he's reached the safety of the Strategic Air Command in Omaha, we can tell you that he flew aboard Air Force One, which is a virtual flying fortress. He is at a top security air base in Louisiana, and before heading to Offutt Air Force Base in Omaha, which is the home to the Strategic Air Command. Now, Mrs. Bush and a handful of aides were whisked away by motorcade straight to a safe and secret location away from the White House, and their 19-year-old twin daughters were also moved to secure secret locations. Barbara, as you know, attends Yale University. Jenna is at the University of Texas, and the only ones left in the White House are a skeleton team of advisors in the basement situation room. Dana, Ernie, back to you.
Cindy, thank you. This has changed everyone's lives in this country. All air traffic was quickly stopped. Planes leaving the United States airports, coming into the United States airports. Also, just entertainment-wise, Brett was here talking about National League Baseball calling off games, the Emmy Awards, Grammy Awards. Broadway shows are canceled in New York. Box offices closed indefinitely. Walt Disney World in Florida, Disneyland in California, Universal Studios in Southern California, all shut down. Major movie studios, the list is endless. Production on television shows, talk shows, everything shut down. TFN, till further notice, again, as you watch the pictures that happened just after 9 this morning, as two aircraft crashed into each of the World Trade Center towers this morning.
As we watch, of course, Dana, everyone asks, you know, what happened here? Who is responsible? To give you some of that information, so far the Islamic Jihad reportedly is saying that the attacks are related to the violence in the Mideast. Keeping in mind the September 17th date is the anniversary of the signing of the Camp David Accord. That, of course, was some 23 years ago. Now, also today, reports that the Democratic Front for Liberation of Palestine and Osama bin Laden all set to be involved and reportedly a part of what happened here today. There had been warnings. There had been some reports issued some time ago, 3 weeks ago, from London. Osama bin Laden saying that something would be planned, some type of attack against the United States for its support of Israel. And we also heard earlier today PLO leader Yasser Arafat condemning the attacks today. We have some reaction right now. Jim Kallstrom is on tape right now. This was a statement that he made a little bit earlier. He is the former head of the FBI in New York City. Let's take a listen to see what Mr. Kallstrom has to say.
The notion that we can be absolutely certain we can't be. So those of us in law enforcement over the years have dreaded but thought that this day might come. Not exactly what happened. Obviously, no one can imagine the immense tragedy that we're looking at. But the notion that some terrorist act like this would come, it was just a matter of when that would be.
That was Jim Kallstrom. Again, you're looking at pictures from this morning of the thousands and thousands of people who had gone for a normal Tuesday day of work, and then were told to head north, leave, get out of Lower Manhattan. Marcia Kramer and Lou Young have been following with the governor and the mayor. They had a news conference in the past hour and a half at an undisclosed location. The mayor, the governor, and Mr. Carrick, Bernard Carrick, the police commissioner, just talking about how the city will continue throughout this horrible day into the evening. Marcia, can you give us an update?
Well, first of all, what you need to know is that because of all of Lower Manhattan is having a problem, what they've done is that they've actually moved the command center from Lower Manhattan to an undisclosed location in Manhattan. All of the agencies that would normally be responding to an emergency have been moved out of Lower Manhattan, and they're in an undisclosed location with the mayor.